Welcome to The Sear Show. Join us as we explore medicine, health, mental health, mindset, and fitness, guided by lifelong seeker of knowledge, Sifu Raphael. He will lead us on a transformative journey with groundbreaking insights and extraordinary guests from around the world. Together, we'll dive into the latest holistic approaches to well-being and the profound connections between mind, body, and soul. Sifu Raphael's expertise in positive thinking, resilience, and personal growth will inspire you to reach new heights. Get ready for the Sear Show. It's time to embrace a brighter, healthier, and more empowered future.
5, 4, 0.
Wow, Francois, thank you so much for joining me on the Sear Show. It's always a pleasure to speak with you, my friend. How are you today?
Thank you so much, Raphael. I'm so happy to be back with you on the show.
Yeah. You know, it's every time that you and I talk. I mean, I feel empowered, man. Your energy is so vibrant. I love it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for saying that. It means a lot, and I think this is the co-creation of a conversation together. And I really hope the audience has a lot of takeaways from all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So today we're going to talk about mindset. Mindset is one of the things that either propels us or stops us, right?
Oh yeah, mindset is such an interesting topic, and I think everybody can relate because, I mean, if I would ask, have you ever felt challenged, felt like beaten down by life, and wondering why things are just not going your way, right? I mean, you've been feeling that, I've been feeling that, everybody's feeling that. It's just a part of life, and it's really easy to fall into a negative mindset when things don't go as planned, right? When everything is great, when you're just riding the wave and things are happening for you, like, you don't really think about your mindset. You just think positive. This is what it is. But when life sucks, it sucks, right? And denying the suck doesn't make it go away. But when we choose a response that aligns with our values and our goals, we really start empowering ourselves to navigate those challenges with more grace and more resilience. And so obviously, mindset is key to navigate life, because it's always about choosing your stance, which is not easy, right? Obviously, it's really difficult in a lot of situations, but it's always worth it. So if we would define mindset is really this set of beliefs and perspectives that shape the way you see yourself and the way you see the world. And when you look at psychology, we have two different type of mindset. And I know everybody knows that, but just to recap that. So the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. The fixed mindset is like your fate is sealed. Your abilities and skills, etc., it's what it is. You cannot change that. And the growth mindset, on the other hand, is like your skills, abilities, intelligence can be developed through effort, dedication, and learning. Now, let me give a metaphor to kind of put some image on that. Yeah. Imagine that you just move in a new house and you look at the garden and you're like, I would love to have roses there. But you look at the garden, it doesn't really look so lush. It's like kind of dry and there's some weeds. It doesn't look so great. If you have a growth mindset, you're going to go buy some seeds. You're going to look like, where am I going to do it? You're going to start preparing the ground. You're going to plant the seeds. You're going to water them. You're going to let them grow. And then suddenly you have some roses, but not so great. It dies. Like, I did something wrong. I should try again. So you start researching online. You start buying maybe new sort of seeds that more adapted to the place that you are. And you start nurturing the plants more, maybe changing the composition of the soil, adding some natural fertilizers and stuff. And then finally you have beautiful roses. Well, if we have a fixed mindset, you look at the garden and like, never going to work out. Period. You don't even bother to go to the store to buy some seeds. It doesn't even reach that point. Right now, I want everyone to replace roses by your dream, by your goal that you're pursuing, by your project, by this relationship you really want to start. And that makes a lot of sense. The thing is, if you think that everything always turned out well, if you think that you're very a lucky person, you're going to take different actions in your life than if you think that nothing really works your way, right? And that's the whole thing. Your mindset is really going to determine the actions that you're taking. And so by really working on creating and harnessing a positive growth mindset, we go so much further in life because we take all those steps that we would never have taken with a fixed mindset.
Oh, yeah.
There is a quote that I really love, and I would love to hear what you think about that.
Sure.
People don't go after what they want, but after what they think they can get.
There's no growth there. There's no growth there at all when they think that way. When people go for what they only think they can get, that's all they're going to get, right? So when we listen, do you want 12 roses or do you want 36?
Yeah.
What do you want? Do you want a full garden or you want one vegetable? Right? So
Yeah.
what is it? When you have to, back in the old days, right? When we had to go hunt our food.
Yeah.
How did we go hunting? Did we go hunting is, listen, I have 8 mouths to feed. I'm only going to feed one. The rest, they'll survive. It's the same thing with your mind, right? You have to do that same thing with your mind. You have
Exactly.
your mind.
Exactly. And if you think about it, the thing that we think we can get is just based on the past, on the circumstances, the people that you observe, your surrounding, the society. And so it's really, it can be used as a map, but it should not direct your fate about the future, because it's really, everything is suddenly fixed, right? So people don't go after what they want, but after what they think they can get. So that's an important thing to realize. Where in my life right now, I'm going after not something I really want, but something I expect to be able to have. And so if we integrate that into mindset, I think the most important things to look at is how to go from a negative to a positive mindset. Because I cannot hear this one more time. People are like, think positive, visualize success. And that, like, of course, there's a big place for that. I 100% agree. It's so important. But when nothing is going right, I mean, or the way you want, and someone coming to you, oh, you don't have the right mindset. You're like, don't you think I know that? Come on. No, of course I know. I'm just really struggling right now. So your mindset is really built over time. And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. We have this bias that in our mind that we try to prove whatever we think. Bias of the mind. So if you say like I don't know, all men are trash. There's a woman having a difficult relationship, all men are trash. And then after, every time you meet, she's going to meet another person, another guy, she's going to be like, he must be trash. I'm going to see somewhere that there is something. I'm going to pick up the cues. I'm going to look for what I want to see. Right? And so the sooner we can stop this self-fulfilling prophecy, the sooner we can embrace ourselves, empower ourselves, sorry. Right? I'm going to share an example. It was like I think about 4 months ago, like in January or February. I started the year with a lot of expectations and set really high goals. I really wanted to really grow my business like 10x. I worked really hard and I was just not getting where I wanted to. Right? I was just not meeting these expectations. I'm usually a very optimistic and positive person, right? You know me a bit, you know. But I couldn't find solution to my problem. And I started slowly focusing on the obstacles instead of on the possibilities. And I became miserable. I mean, I was just like bitter all the time thinking about this. And then my wife really very supportive, trying to support me to find ideas. And I was like, yeah, no. And I was just rejecting everything. And one day we were in the living room and we had this conversation about this. And she started crying. Like not big cry, but she had tears in her eyes. And it's like, it hit me in the face. And she said, it hurts me so much to see you beating yourself down and rejecting other possibilities and options. Man, that hurts. I was like, what am I doing? You know, I really had built this cage around myself and I trapped myself inside. And the case was just I was focused on the bars instead of looking for an exit.
Yeah.
And I'm not lying. I mean, it's uncomfortable to share that. I'm a high performance coach, right? I really support people in that. And I felt into the same trap. It's like, "Ugh!" I was so frustrated. But you think, you know what happens? And I did a lot of reflection about it. My frustration of things not moving forward enough started being complaining. So it turned into a complaint. And I was not complaining out loud, just inside. Maybe my wife would say the opposite, but I tried to keep it for myself.
Yes.
And this lack of progress turned into a loss of motivation. And not knowing what to do to find a way out became not doing anything. And that's the danger. You know, when we start being like, yeah, but for me, it's different. Oh, you don't get me. You don't understand. For me, it doesn't work. Right? And when we start being in that place, we lose the willingness. And we become stuck in an energy of complaint.
We do.
So just a question for all the audience. Where in your life right now do you feel trapped behind those bars? You feel like being in this energy of complaint instead of the energy of willingness. When you keep thinking like nobody understands you, for you it's different. You start putting some distance with the rest of the world and you look at it passing by, you're like, yeah, just for me, it doesn't work out. You feel misunderstood. You feel not seen. You feel not heard. Right? This situation is when we start becoming a victim. Right? We say, why me? And when we are a victim, we put the responsibility and the ownership away from us. Suddenly, we have nothing we can do because it's not our fault. It's happening to us. And then we start building this negative mindset, this fixed mindset. We lose the willingness. We lose the options to generate options. We lose the creative mind. And we become bitter.
You know, one of the things that you said earlier as a high performance coach, and thank you for sharing that story with us, because it goes to show that no matter where we are in life, we need to do one thing. And I believe your wife helped you. Self-reflection, right?
Oh, yeah.
Self-reflection. And she poured onto you, you're amazing. Why are you thinking this way? Let's reevaluate. And then the other thing is, when you talked about putting yourself in the cage, I also imagined if you're looking at a brick wall, and you're looking at a brick wall and you see no exit, there's no way out, and it looks, but one thing, it's just a wall. Maybe we have to look up. Oh, there's the sun. Oh, wait, I can throw a rope over it. I can climb the wall. Oh, wait, there's a sledgehammer. I can slam through the wall. So when we are not looking for possibilities, but we become blinded by what's in front of us, that's when we become stagnated into what the possibilities are. So thank you for sharing that story. You know?
Yeah. And it was just also for me to be real with people. So, because, you know, there is a big difference between how people look from the outside and how people really feel from the inside. And I'm not pretending anything, because when you pretend, you also lie to yourself. And I think entrepreneurship, for all the entrepreneurs out there, you know how it is. There is never an entrepreneurship journey that is just to success. No, it's up, down, it's circle, it's messy. This is how it is. So let's not pretend things that are not true, right? And so after that moment with my wife, I started really thinking deep about that, because it's like, well, that's not me. I need to change. And so I really focused and did deep work around how can I get out of this fixed mindset that I created over time, of this kind of learned helplessness. And I figured out a 3-part formula. And this really works for me. That's what I teach with my clients as well. So I'm going to share the 3 parts first, and then we'll explain.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. So the first one is to be real. The second one is to be open. And the last is to be committed. Okay, so let me go through all of them. The whole idea behind that is to really be more intentional, right? To regain ownership, to reassume the responsibilities, and to do something about it. So to really break free from this victim state into becoming a victor. So the first one, to be real. Well, first of all, it's to not suppress your thoughts and acknowledge all the negative ones. When I was in that hole kind of, and that was not so bad, but I just use it as an example, where I was like denying the situation, denying that I was actually like becoming bitter and being stuck. I was just, no, I'm not stuck. That did not work out because I did not acknowledge my emotion. So in Be Real is really facing reality. And my wife really helped me do that. She reflected, she held a mirror in front of me and I was like, oh, right? And so the question you should ask yourself in that moment. And as I said before, when I asked the question, why do you feel caged in your life right now? You can keep going further with the question I'm going to ask you. What emotion are you feeling right now? And why do you think you feel that way? It's a pretty simple question. But the thing is, a lot of time we don't really take the time to acknowledge those emotions. And nowadays, we do things everywhere. We just keep having distractions after distractions, and we don't really take the time to sit with our thoughts and to really tune in and just think. Right? It's easier to go on instant gratification, dopamine hits on social media than to sit with you and thinking like, okay, what is not going right in my life right now? Yes, it takes courage to build your best life. Second is, what would happen if you would allow yourself to fully feel and express this emotion without trying to controlling it? When we give a name to an emotion and we give space to express it, suddenly it loses the control over you. Right? I have two more questions. Am I choosing complaint or willingness as my energy? For me, it was clear. I was 100% in complaint. I was not willing to try anything anymore because I was like, it's not going to work out. Right? And lastly is to look at all those informations that are very valuable, that all your emotions are providing you with. How can that help me to choose a response, and mark my word, choosing a response that aligns with your values and support your desired outcome? Because ultimately, when you're complaining, when you don't do anything, it doesn't really help you move forward, right? And so it doesn't really support the desired outcome. And sometimes like, okay, what does that tell me about my situation right now? And how can I realign so I do something that is aligned with my desired outcome? So this is the first step, to be real, really this reality check. The second is to be open. And there are two parts here. The first one is to use the little word yet. Don't underestimate the power of that word. It's changing everything. Like, oh, this hasn't manifested yet. I am not there yet. It's just giving some hope. It's just giving you the possibility to have some positive expectation, right? To transform the what if it doesn't happen to what if it hasn't happened yet. So put this little word and rephrase the narrative or rechange the sentence in your mind. And the second thing to remember in being open is that you cannot be in a state of gratitude and depression at the same time. You can't.
You can't do both.
No. So when you're in a state of feeling a bit depressed or feeling a bit down, it's about, well, let me refocus on the present moment. Because usually we feel like that when we look at the past and we look at the future. We look at something we lost and we don't have anymore, we're not going to have tomorrow, or something we want to have tomorrow, we're not sure to have it, right? This is the pain, the uncertainty, and the constant effort are just aspect of life. We cannot remove that from it. But so the moment we tune back into the present and we look at gratitude and we just give appreciation for that today, that really changed the mindset. So I'm not telling you, be happy for, no, it's not that. It's like, just look at your life. What right now can I share appreciation for? Maybe it's a person, maybe it's a thing, whatever it is. And so that's the second step, to really tune back into the state of gratitude. And that's preparing you for the last step, to be committed. And so this last step is all about choosing your response as a choice and really changing the narrative. We cannot go from sad to happy. That just doesn't happen, right? But we can identify what is the emotion that I want to feel right now. That's easy. Everybody can do that. And second is, what is something I can do to move towards this emotion? If I want to feel joy, I'm living on the Pacific coast of Ecuador right now. Let's say that I'm frustrated one day and like I need joy and I don't find joy and I'm frustrated with this thing I'm working on. It doesn't work. I'm feeling bitter. Like, let me have gratitude. I'm living in a beautiful place. I'm so happy about my life, about my wife, about my work. I'm a bit frustrated right now. Let me move forward toward an emotion that I really want to have. Joy, aliveness. I take my surfboard, I go to the waves, and I do something that creates the feeling, right? I don't believe you can really choose emotion. Maybe some people can, but I think it's usually difficult. But you can always do something that is giving you the emotions that you're looking for. And for me, this is a big difference, right? After, it's about choosing new beliefs. And I know it sounds really like what do you mean? I mean, if I think I'm going to screw up, I'm going to screw up. I cannot just think everything is going to go well. Then there is this cognitive dissonance, right? You feel something and you try to think something different. That doesn't really work. But what if you just ask yourself that question? Well, if I believe that it was possible, what would I do differently? This is a golden question, really, guys. Because I'm not telling you that you have to believe whatever you want to do is possible. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, like, if you would believe it was possible, what would you do? And so you can still believe it's not possible, but suddenly you start seeing more possibilities in front of you. Like, okay, if I would believe it, maybe I could do this, I could do that, I could do that. Well, let me try one of those things, right? That's powerful. Because as I said, when you feel down, you feel it's not going to work, just, okay, it's going to work, it's going to work. I'm going to be able to fly. I'm going to jump from the roof. I'm going to fly. I'm going to fly. Sorry, not always going to
fly.
So that's really priming your mind differently. And one of my favorite super powerful questions, so based on that, so what would I do differently? It is, what would your future self 6 months from now wish you had started today?
It's a good question.
This is really powerful. And if you want to know the part of that question, just put that aside for a second. We are today, 20th of June. What would you wish you had started 6 months ago? What would you wish you had started and do consistently since January 1st? Is it hitting gym twice a week? Is it telling people you love that you appreciate them? Is it learning a little bit of this new passion, this new dream, or working on this new project? Everyone has an answer for that. What would you wish you had started 6 months ago? And now when you feel that, like, if I would have put 20 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day on learning a new language, right now I would have basic fluency. It's incredible, right?
It is.
So know what you feel. How would your life would be different if you had started that 6 months ago? Now let's project ourselves in the future and say, what would my future self 6 months from now wish I had started today? I'm going to give another quote that I love so much. The present is the future of your past. It's a little bit of a brain teaser, I know.
I like that. That's really good.
I had to read it a few times.
Okay.
The present is the future of your past. You know, we always set goals for our future selves. Like, your future self wants to be fit and healthy, and your present self just wants to eat a donut. Your future self wants to be an entrepreneur and create a massive business, and your present self, like, I want to watch Netflix.
Yeah,
you know, so we always set goals for the future selves, but we forgot that's the present self that needs to do the work.
It does.
Right? And so the present is the future of your past. Just put that in, because it's so strong, guys.
Yeah.
So when we realize that, we're like, okay, what do I need to do today so that 6 months from now, I'm like, man, I did the right actions. So once again, what would your future self 6 months from now wish you had started today? Now, instead of visualizing the outcome, so we often do that, right? When people do visualization, and visualization are so powerful. 100%. I was just starting watching the new documentary about Arnold Schwarzenegger, about how he built a very inspiring documentary. I really recommend it. It was really interesting. You see the obsession, the drive, and the visualization, and the belief and the mindset, very strong. Now, instead of visualizing the outcome, and there is a place for that too, I think it's so much more powerful to visualize yourself doing the effort, right? To visualize yourself enjoying to do the work. And so when you start doing that, and in the same time, you commit to the process and not to the outcome, you really start creating a lot of momentum, because we don't know. Like, let's say I want to release 20 kilos, health goal. 6 months after, you're not there. It doesn't work. I cannot do a diet. I'm going to be overweight my whole life. It's okay. Blah, blah, blah. Fixed mindset, right? But if instead I said, you know what, releasing 20 kilos, I don't really care about that. What I do care about is to feel better in my body. I want to feel more confident. I want to feel more energy. I want to feel healthier. I want to sleep well. I want to move well. I don't want to have this pain. I want the clarity of mind. Okay, now we're talking. Now, if you set the goal on the process, like, all right, I'm going to behave as a healthy person do. I'm going to make healthy choices, and I'm going to hit the gym twice a week. I'll do a movement exercise, whatever it is. Now, suddenly, instead of being attached to the outcome, we commit to the process. And it doesn't matter if in 3 months you're not there. Maybe you will, maybe even sooner, or maybe later. But it doesn't matter, because suddenly you started creating a new identity.
I always say, enjoy the process. Enjoy the moment. You know, one of the things that you said earlier was, what happens when we complain? This is what happens. People become blind and they become deaf because they don't see what they're complaining is creating, because they're creating negativity. They're not listening to, when they complain, they're actually, maybe they are listening to how they're not good enough. They're not good at this. They're not good at that. So their complaining is either they're not listening to the positivity that can come in, or they're truly only listening to the negativity that their own voice is saying. The sounds, the words we use, the wordsmithing that the minute I say something negative, my gosh, it's out there. Even if I think it without saying it, I can have all these negative thoughts and say, as long as I don't say them, they're okay. No, you can't even think negatively. You can't complain even in silence, because the minute you start to complain in any endeavor, in any situation, in any fashion, you're hurting your possibilities of that growth mindset you're talking about. I love where we're going with this, because everything you're saying impacts the way we think. So mindset is, how do we think? How do we change our thoughts? I do have a great question for you, because you are traveling the world. You're seeing different cultures. You're seeing different communities. What is it about a certain neighborhood, about a certain community that sets them apart? And we all know the true answer is mindset.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because it's been 7 years now that I'm traveling around the world. And what I realize is that society is really putting things in our head that things need to be a certain way, that to be successful, we need to have things a certain way. And usually it's about financial success. For most people are struggling with making enough money, etc., and trying to be happy. And it's a really interesting conversation, because yes, in our world, we do need money to survive, 100%. But the idea that your life is going to be better with money is wrong. It might be more comfortable. That's true, for sure. But what I realize in living with people who have really little things is that they really cherish the moment. They really savor some basic things of life. And I think most of people in the Western world, we spend all our days and our time and our energy to build something that we think is going to make us feel good, just to realize that that's that. And social media it's partly responsible for that. We keep seeing people posting beautiful photos in beautiful locations with beautiful objects, right? And they have big smiles on their face. And so we associate a private jet, a sport car, a 5-star resort, whatever, with happiness, because this is what we see, right? So we associate what is in the picture with the emotion that we see from them. But let's be honest, how many of us have taken a selfie, being like smiling and then being back into the... I've seen so many people. I'm traveling into beautiful places. I've seen those people being in a fight on the table, having an argument, taking the phone because they're gonna about to leave. They still need to have a beautiful photo. They put the smile on, and then they go back to their argument. But what you see on social media is the happiness and the things, and like, whoa. So to be really happy, because my life sucks right now, I need to have a private jet. I need to have more cars. I need to go to these 5-star restaurants and stuff like this. And then we start not being very aligned with what really makes us fulfilled and happy. What I did realize is that when people don't have so much, they are really aligned with what makes them feel happy, because they're not trying to navigate all this noise of materialism, etc. They're really attuned to their own thoughts, to their own desire, and they're working on creating joy for themselves every day, instead of being in the rat race, trying to create money to after enjoy. Now, creating money is such a fun game, but it's not the only way that's going to help you to have the emotions that you want to have. And once again, the problem here is that we tend to give exclusivity to certain emotions, to certain things. Now, let me explain that. Like, for example, you'll say, I'm only going to be happy when I'm living in the Caribbean. I'm only going to be happy when I have a bigger house. I'm only going to be, you can replace happiness by another feeling. Like, I'm going to be confident when I have 5,000 or 50,000 followers or whatever. Now, I think what's really interesting is that when we attribute a certain emotion to a certain thing, we tend to give it exclusivity, meaning that, oh, this is the only way I'm going to be able to feel, put the emotion you want to feel. And suddenly we really stop exploring different options to create that feeling again. And that's a very big danger. And so every time when I start having this conversation with my clients, like, what are you doing? What you're doing? Why are you pursuing your goals? Why? What does that matter to you at all? And it happens sometimes, like, yeah, actually, it doesn't really matter. That's not really my goals. I thought it would make me happy, but actually, no. And so it's about creating new ways to experience the emotions that you're longing for. And we all want to feel happy. We all just want to feel good right now, right? That's something we're all after. No, it takes different form for everyone. I was in this conference in Texas a few months ago with Brendan Bouchard, and he was talking about aliveness, and he shared a moment. Could you write down on your notebook three things that you do every day that brings you joy? And I looked left and right, and I realized most people were struggling to write something down. And myself was like, well, I know I have those big adventures I'm going on, etc. But what is my intentionality daily to do simple things that doesn't require anything to bring joy into my life? And I had to think. Can you believe that? I had to think to know what brings me joy every day. Like, well, that was such an insight for me. It's like, but this needs to be part of my routine. I need to be intentional about creating those things that makes me happy. And maybe it's a stroll on the beach. Maybe it's just looking at the sunset. It doesn't have to be complicated, but you just have to be there. Yeah. And I think that was also a big discovery in my travel, is to realize, well, no matter where I am, I can always do something to bring joy in my days, to bring aliveness in my days. Doesn't matter the context. Doesn't matter about my bank account. I can always do one thing. Yeah. And I think that's really empowering to realize that, because you realize suddenly, well, it's not this goal that I'm going to work on for the next 15 years to get there. And I love what you said. It's about enjoying the journey to get there. 100%. I have one of my clients, very inspiring woman, had a dream since ever to climb to the top of Everest. That's not a small achievement, right? To get there. I mean, it requires a lot of money, way much more than what you can think, and a lot of commitment and dedication and hard work, etc. And we were talking together, and it's like, what do you want most? Because if what you want the most is to stand tall on the top of the mountain, well, this is going to last about a few seconds. I mean, you're in the death zone. You don't stay there too long, right? You just stay there a bit, you look at the view, hopefully it's clear, and then you go down. So it's a few seconds of standing at the top. But before, you had a few years of hard work and dedication. If you don't enjoy the process, you're missing out. I mean, you're pursuing the wrong things. And I always like to tell people, whatever goal you have, do you enjoy the process? And not everything is fun in the process. I agree, some things you have to do, but mostly, do you enjoy the process? And if you don't enjoy the process, you're like, maybe there is something wrong with that goal. Maybe it's time to readjust, to realign to something that, yes, I'm going to enjoy when I'm going to get there, but man, I'm enjoying the path to get there even more. Right?
It's that process.
So I think it's committing to the process.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that you made me think of earlier when you were talking about, finding that joy, right? Recently, I was at a restaurant, but getting to the restaurant was chaotic. There was hundreds and hundreds of cars along the way. Traffic was a nightmare. But if I dwelt on the traffic and not about my end result, getting to this place, I had never been to this restaurant in New York. I went to it in New Jersey, and this is the only restaurant they have in New York. And I said, it's going to be worth the trip. So that's what we're talking about. Is it worth the journey? Is it worth the trip? It was chaos. Parking was a nightmare. It was just, and the person I was with, they were getting a little bit, oh, is it worth it? Is it worth it? I'm like, relax. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be worth it. You just chill. Don't worry. We get there when we get there. We're not in a rush. This is relaxing time. Finally, I got a spot. We go into the restaurant. There's people everywhere. We walk in. The restaurant was quiet. It was serene. It was gorgeous. But here's the beauty of it. The food was incredible. It was incredible. The service was immaculate. And within seconds, that chaos was forgotten. It was gone. It was gone. And when we had this incredible experience, great conversation, when we went back into the chaos was not as
bad,
relevant anymore. It didn't even exist. It didn't matter because we had this incredible experience. And for me, my experience was great all along. For them, because they focused on the chaos, I focused on the journey. So two people in the same vehicle experience something different, right? So how do we, when we try to help someone understand mindset, how do we have somebody enjoy the process like I did? Eventually, they relaxed and were able to enjoy it. That even afterwards, the traffic was the same. It was exactly the same, but they didn't complain anymore. They didn't say one negative thing about the traffic, and it was easy once we left. Yes, we hit traffic exactly the same way, but the mindset changed, right? So that I just wanted to share that with you as well.
No, that's a great story. I think it's really a beautiful story about perspectives. And in that moment in the car, you choose to let go of things that you cannot control and to focus on what you can control. And what you can control, your thoughts, right? You can control who you are being in the moment. You cannot always control what's happening to you, but you can always choose your response. And I think that's showing up with leadership when you're surrounded with other people. Because my mom was always doing that. I was kind of I needed to do everything very fast, etc. When I was driving and my mom would be next to me and someone would do something or would be stuck in traffic, I would be like, oh! And my mom was like, well, every time you do that, you let the circumstances and other people influence the way you feel and choose their emotion for you. That's not so, I don't remember the word she said, but I was like, yeah, that's kind of irritating when I hear that. Like, I was like, Mom, don't say that. You make me feel like a fool. But I was also very, like, it's the brutal fact. If you keep wasting your time trying to control things that you can't, you're just creating more bitterness in your life.
Mhm.
That's just how it is. And
Yeah.
to bounce on that, as I said before, uncertainty, pain, and constant effort are just characteristic of life. They are inevitable. It's happening no matter what. So the goal is to really craft a life that is fulfilling enough to make those challenges worthwhile.
Mm.
And then you can really start enjoying more the process, more the journey. I think when you know it's worth it.
Yeah.
So as you said, how to help others to see that? Well, I think the first thing to remember is that we are not responsible for another person's happiness, right? We are never responsible for it. We can only support or create the right environment for them to change. And so sharing your thought process, I think this is one of the most powerful things you can do. You see someone getting annoyed and agitated, like, well, cannot really change that. And you know what? That makes me slow down. This old traffic jam. I've never seen that building before.
Mm.
And I have time to think. And whatever it is, like really demonstrating what it means to let go of things that you cannot control, to refocus on what you can control and make the most of every situation. This is so powerful. I've seen, and I really learned that through my travels, because I've been traveling
No,
the
yeah.
global way and like backpacking, like on a budget and being to places like you cannot even imagine. And it's every time when shit hit the fan, you're like, well, this is going to turn out to be a very funny story to share later.
Yeah.
Man, this is really bring a different mindset. What
Mhm.
else is going to happen that everything is falling apart? But one day we're going to be at a table with friends and we're going to share that story and be like, oh, incredible. What was that? I remember one of the story. I was in Madagascar and we were traveling around with local transport. 40 people in the back of a truck next to on top of each other for 8 to 10 hours in a row. That was so tough.
Mm.
And one day we arrived, it was getting dark, and like, oh, I'm not so comfortable because a lot of thieves and criminals on those different roads in the night, and that's dangerous. And so like, oh, it's a bit uncomfortable. And suddenly the car stopped, and we get out of the back and ask the driver what's happening. He said, no, I'm not driving anymore. Too dangerous. I stop here. Like, but we're not at destination. We plan to go to a village somewhere, and now we're in the middle of nowhere in Madagascar, not even knowing where we were. And like, he said, okay, see you tomorrow. I'm like, oh my goodness, what are we gonna do? And so started a bit panicking, thinking we have no place to sleep. There's no hotel. I have no internet. I have nothing. How are we gonna do that? And suddenly we started walking around this mini village, knocking at doors and trying to figure out thing. And that was a church. And luckily we asked to sleep in the, I don't know, it was not the convent, but a little part next to the church. And we just had a mattress or carpet on the floor. At least we had a roof and a place to be. And what a story. And believe me, in the moment I was like, what's happening? It's dangerous. So it's going to be fine, etc. And then after, like, well, this is going to turn out well. And this is going to make a great story that one day I'm going to be able to share. And I'm able to share it today.
That's it.
Once again, everything that happened in your life, we can either see it as like, oh, this is a tragedy. Everything is collapsing on me. That's never going to work out. We're like, well, let me see how this is going to turn out. And if it's not for the best, it's still going to make a good story. And maybe it's for the better. Maybe I'm not able to see it now. I love Steve Jobs' quote who said, you're only going to be able to connect the dots when looking at the past. You cannot connect the dots when you're in the present looking at the future. It doesn't work out. But I'm pretty sure everyone on the call right now, you can look at your life and look at all the bad experiences that happened to you and realize, oh, well, I can connect them that way. And they made me the person I am today. Thanks to this, I am here. I think it's, once again, trusting the timing of your life and trusting that whatever, things are going to turn out for the best. Maybe it's not really what I want, but it's probably what I need.
It's perspective, right? When you think about it, and you think about when you go on the road, whether you're on a bicycle, on roller skates, in a car, you only see the road in front of you, maybe the ones on the side, in your rear view mirror, you see what's going on.
Yeah.
But if you were to go above, now you can see everything, right? So it's that perspective of, one of the things that when we travel, I use Google Maps. So I see there's brake lights in front of me, but what does Google Maps do? it doesn't just tell me there's brake lights ahead of me. It tells me for how long there's going to be brake lights in front of me. Because what has it done? It has looked from above to give me guidance of this much is red, because that's how much traffic you're going to be facing. But we can't see it. But thank God that, we do have navigation, that sometimes we have to rely on it. Sometimes the navigation is by our own actions. Did we choose to go in this direction? Did we choose to go in the other direction? Everything we do in life has a consequence, right? And when we listen to another person, when we allow another person to enter our mind, that's the navigation we're going with, right? So the advice you've given today has been really, really incredible. I want to thank you for so much important information that we can, even if we go back and replay this video for people who are going to watch this live, or people who are going to watch it, actually, I should say, in the replay, hit hashtag replay and let us know what you thought. What were some of the biggest takeaways that you got listening to François talk about his travels, talk about his steps on how to find happiness, how to go from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset? So with that, I leave you with this one thing. What are you doing every day to impact your tomorrows? François, thank you, my friend. Thank you so much for being here. Do me a favor, don't go away. We're going to
Thank you
say,
guys for being here today as well.
yes, we're going to say goodbye to everybody, and just hang on for a second. All right, everybody, do me a favor. Do follow this show. If you like it, let me know. I want to know more. And if you're interested, and if you're an amazing coach, as my friend Francois is, let me know. Come on the show. We love different perspective, because guess what? One perspective is not enough. We need to know more. Thank you, everybody. Have an exceptional day. Take care.